Hi. Some of you have asked me to make an explanatory video about my modular setup. I have decided to do that with a couple of videos. There's a lot of things to say about my system because the patch evolved a lot over the last couple of years. Because of long setup times, I gradually started to fix my patch with fixed tendrils cables. This is the way it is patched when I open my case. The only connections I have to make are the DOP for RJ45 mults and the tendrils connections between my MDR case and the skiff. Let's start with the channels. My main mixer is the WMD Performance mixer. There's also the 3 Synthrotech MST mixers. They're the only ones I could find that have these switches. So I don't only have these 10 channels, but also the additional 12 channels from the MSTs which go into the performance mixer. More about that later. Let's start from the top. In today's video we're going to check out the first 3 channels of my WMD mixer and also a little bit about how I do sequences. Channel 1 is my kick. As you can hear, it's already pretty cranked up. I usually change my kick on the fly. This is more a softer kick for the house stuff. There we have a harder one, maybe with the sub. When I turn the decay up, I can also use the kick as a bass voice. Underneath this kick is a second kick, which is also on channel 1, but on B. This acts as a classic kick roll for the techno stuff. I sequence the kick roll with the mutable grids as you can see here. Don't forget to listen to this tutorial on a sound system that can reproduce sub basses, or else it will sound like garbage. I sometimes also use its standalone kick like this. I can crank it up with the XAOC Tall distortion unit. If I add some attack, I can make one of those really 808 style sub-bass techno or electro kicks. I sometimes also modulate its tuning. Let's try that with the Turing machine. The right Turing machines go here into the switch multiples. Now I have a timed loop from the Turing machine on the tune of the kick. Instead of showing you channel 2 right away, I'm going to skip to channel 3. On channel 3 we have the tip-top 909 hats. I'm reducing the gain a little because my kicks are a bit hot in the mixer and create too much overdrive. I love the tip-top 909 because it's quite flexible. You can get a lot of sounds out of a 909 hi-hat by just tuning it. For a very soft one that just gives a little groove to the track, I turn the tuning way up. For a harsher one, I turn the tuning down. If I turn the volume down a bit, I can have very gritty sounds in the raw mode. But usually I stick to the 909 mode. There we go. The other hi-hat is on the B input of channel 3 and is triggered by the mutable instruments grids. It's LDB. I also use the LDB for other percussive sounds. For example, for a house beat, In combination with the Modular repeater, I can make very organic sounding percussion. Let's connect one of the trigger outs from the Modular repeater to the LDB snare. Nice. Now before I show you channel 2, I will show you my sound effects. I only have 2 sound effects: a delay and a reverb. They both go to channel 10 in my performance mixer. As you can hear, we're already sending something to the reverb from channel 3. The reverb is a micro clouds in the Olan mode, which gives me some gradual pitch shifting options. Nice. The second send is a simple ping-pong delay from the Erica Pico DSP. With my Doper switches, I can send the CV signal from one of the detouring machines to the delay time of the Erica. This gives me these wobbly delay effects. I seldom use this effect in grooves, but it's a cool sound design tool, especially for experimental music. These are my send effects. Now I'm going to what used to be my main bass voice. It is on channel 2. Nowadays I use different bass voices like the Noise Engineering, Basilimus Iteratus and others. But this voice is still pretty flexible. Let me quickly create a little pattern on which my bass voice can sit on. Okay, now to my bass voice. The mutable instruments braids goes through the MST filter. I don't need a VCE in this chain because the MST filter closes the signal pretty well. There's one here, but it would mean 2 more cables across the entire system. I have enough cables already. I don't have enough VCAs for all my voices because of my HP restrictions. My setup needs to be small. I never had problems on voices without a VCA when playing live. I can also use my ER110 EQ to adjust the bass a bit on my master. Now to the braids. It's a really flexible oscillator. I usually sequence it with the bloom. The bloom is quite similar to a touring machine. You can modulate your sequence and then lock it. It has some more features. You can, for example, extend your sequences by creating branches. This will give you longer sequences. By the way, I don't quantize my pitch info. I like my machines to be in free tonal space and not restricted to 12 pitches per octave. Let me search something a little bit more techno on my braids. There are also 2 vocal algorithms on there, by the way. There we go. I like that. Let's make that a little bit louder. Let's pitch it down a bit. Oh, you hear that? It seems that we're at the max input of our braids on the volts per octave. The sequence changed. It only has 2 pitches now, it seems. Envelope 1 of my peaks is the envelope for my braids voice. I have also patches the braids into a music thing tilt EQ where I can tilt this voice a bit to a more bassy or more bright side. So the whole voice goes braids, MST, tilt EQ, performance mixer. those are my first 3 channels audio-wise. Now I'm going to quickly show you how my sequencing, especially my trigger setup, works. Let me show you something. When I mute my main kick, I can show you how I would make an electro beat. When I add my clap and my second hi-hat, I have all the 3 triggered from my mutable grids. I will now disconnect the Modular repeater from the LDB snare again, because I only want 3 forces: kick, clap, hat. Let me play with this a little bit. Nice. 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 So let's look a bit at my trigger setup in general. My Erica drum sequencer is the main clock and clock distributor. If I play with other people, I can be MIDI follow, but not MIDI lead. But that's fine. I send one clock out to my TB3 for my acid lines. Not all of the Erica drum sequencer channels are used because I have loads of different sequencers, like the grids, the Modular repeater, like the Turing machines. All of them use some kind of randomness. The grids is synced with a normal 16th clock, and with a reset. The reset has a slight offset because it didn't always reset when it was on the pulse. I send quarter notes to the tempi. From the tempi I can divide the beat, for example by 3. I can send these triplets to other sequencers, for example. I like to do that with my Modular repeater quite often. Especially more percussive live sets and experimental live sets can profit from that. I also send my tempo to the Pico trig, on which I can also adjust shuffle. It acts as a simple clock distributor to the Turing machines and the Bloom. Some things are sequenced from the Erica drum sequencer, like the hi-hats and the kick. Let me show you the kick. And now the hi-hat. If you have any questions, you can ask them in the comments. I'll try to include the answers to them in the next videos, or at least in the comments. In the next video, we will look at the next 3 channels. In the video after that we will look at channels 7 to 9, and I will show you how I use all this in a live setting. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and listen to my music.